Hello, listener, and welcome to Book 2, Chapter 3 of Bite-Sized Tales, the audio flash fiction podcast. In today's story, in a town where nothing happens, when something finally does, maybe boredom isn't so bad. Get Me Outta Here. Written by Dot Moore. Read by Chris Hussey. Nothing interesting happens in Magnolia Springs. Nothing. It's the quaintest small town in Alabama you'll ever find, which is why nothing happens in Magnolia Springs. I've grown up here all my life, and I can assure you that if there was any kind of goings-on in Magnolia, Mrs. Upchurch would know about it. She'd know every little detail and who said what and when, but she's not a gossip, oh no. The town confidant, more like. She holds on to everyone else's secrets for the sake of future knowledge. I don't know that she's ever actually spilled tea about anyone before, but Lord knows she'd have some things to say, I'm sure. That's why when the giant tent on the edge of town came as a surprise to all of us. See, that ain't gossip so much as it's actual change, and us folk don't tend to see a whole lot of that in Magnolia Springs. Now, I don't normally consider myself curious by nature, but there's just no way any of us were going to let this slide. You know how some places seem to be lost in time? Or maybe behind the times is a better way to put it? Well, you guessed it. That's Magnolia Springs. We didn't have any big fancy restaurants or skyscraper buildings for as far as the eye could see. Just farms and fields. My friends and I rode our bikes along country back roads for hours on end, and our parents had not a care or concern in the world because, say it with me now, nothing happens in Magnolia Springs. This did happen, though. The circus came, and inexplicable things happened to our quiet little town. At first, we were all enraptured that a traveling circus could have even found our corner of the world, that they'd even have the presence of mind or failure of navigation to stumble upon us. It started out innocent enough, folks sharing whispers over their morning coffee at the diner on Main Street. Well, did you hear they brought some woman that can twist herself like a pretzel? Well, I heard there's a man with them that can take a cannonball to the stomach and not burst in two. Quiet gasps in surprise and maybe a touch of wonder filled the corner cafe. But you never mind all that. My friends and I had a plan to get us out of Magnolia Springs. We decided that tonight was the night. The circus managed to hold up through the week, but yesterday, when we went to the matinee show, there were signs they might be packing up to roll on to the next podunk town. This was our only chance. It had to be tonight. My friends and I planned to meet up after dinner, give our families a final goodbye, that false sense of security we'd be home shortly after sundown like any other night. We hopped on our bikes and rode through the town, whooping and hollering, living it up because we all knew the freedom we'd have after tonight. We were going to see the world, live out the rest of our days with a traveling circus. We wanted to experience the wild and untamed lifestyle of performers and showmen. It was a perfect escape. Until it wasn't. The dim yellow glow from the lights lining the big top guided us to our future. We raced each other to the entrance. Last one there has to kiss the bearded lady. We laughed, only thinking of the joy of leaving Magnolia Springs. There was no way we were going to miss the opportunity presented to us. We weren't going to be the next generation of kids to get stuck in Magnolia like our parents, grandparents, and generations before that. This was our chance to seize a way out of here. As we walked up to the tied-back curtain entrance, a figure appeared from nowhere. "What do you boys think you're doing, sneaking?" We jumped. "Nah, mister, we're coming with you. We came to join the circus. Get the hell out of this shithole town." The figure stepped forward to reveal a man covered in tattoos and piercings, every inch of him. I never knew someone could have their skin poked and prodded so much. He chuckled to himself, crossing his arms. "You'ns think you're gonna just hop along for the ride? We all work here, and no one joins without Lady Florence's blessing. You ain't asked her yet, have you?" My friends and I looked between each other with a shrug. "No. Can you take us to her?" The man smiled a wicked grin, flashing the piercing along his gums, and I cringed. He turned and began walking deeper into the tent, and we followed. On the opposite side of the big top, the tattooed man opened a flap that led to the performer's caravan. He pointed to an ornately painted van with string lights decorating the exterior. "That there's her van. Don't just go knocking, though. She's a pretty light sleeper. She probably already knows you'ns a comin'." He wheezed and coughed through a laugh before disappearing into the darkness of the tent once more. The van was even more detailed the closer we got. A bright painted banner read Lady Florence's Fortunes across the blacked-out windows of the van. The three of us paused just outside the passenger side door, hesitating on whether or not to actually knock. I raised my hand to give a light tap, and in an instant the door slammed open in front of us. We jumped back as a woman crawled her way from the back seat before us. She had long, brown, knotted hair that was clumped in waves around her face. It was loosely tied up with pins and ribbon, but mostly hung in a shaggy mess around her shoulders. She wore a loose, dingy, and tattered dress. Once it may have been a beautiful slip, but the stains and tears quickly broke that illusion. She reached forward out to us, and that's when I noticed her eyes, the pale bluish-white opacity to them. They were completely glazed over, and as she reached out I took her hand to guide her. "Here, Lady Florence, we're here." She gripped my palm hard, her dirty and chipped nails pinched into my skin. With a rasped but clear tone she whispered, "Oh, I knew right where you were, Tommy Wilkes." I let go of her hand and stepped back to my friends. How'd you know it was me?" She paused. "I could smell you coming yesterday, boy." She lowered herself to the ottoman, positioned in the center of the van. She extended her arms out to us with palms up. "So, you boys think you want to join my circus, eh?" We nodded in agreement. She hung her head low, but the three of us could see the twisted smile revealing her yellow teeth. "You know what that means then, don't you? I can't promise we'll be back here soon, if ever. Are you really willing to leave your lives behind?" The three of us looked to each other again and nodded once more. I spoke for us. "There's nothing here for us anyhow. What's the use of coming back?" Lady Florence shuddered and let out a low hum. She lifted her head, and the once pale blue of her eyes shifted to a deep, blood-red color. Black saliva dripped from the corner of her mouth. We were frozen in fear as she crept forward from the van, crawling almost spider-like towards us. She stopped just in front of me and sniffed along my neck before whispering the most terrifying words I've ever heard. "You're mine forever, Tommy Wilkes."
Author's note. Apologies for not being able to record the whole story myself, but as you can tell, my voice isn't entirely up to snuff. As many of our regular listeners may know, I'm a big fan of circus horror. I hadn't written something truly spooky in a while and had the urge. I don't know, you write what inspires you, and that's one of my shticks, I guess. Hope you enjoyed.
This chapter of Bite-Sized Tales has been brought to you under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Intro and outro music is Fantasy Motion by Alexander Nakarada, provided under a Creative Commons 4.0 license. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we greatly appreciate reviews and recommendations to your friends. For more information about our authors, please visit bitesizedtales.com. We look forward to reading to you next time.